Okay, my name is Carol Green Claggett. I graduated in 1961.
My name is Roy Monk Wilkins. I graduated in 1961.
Tell me your most fond experience from Spingarn High School.
My fondest memory was the fact that we could not go out, we could not leave the school. Once we entered the school, we had to stay in, so we had to eat lunch together, and we became family. We had fun in the cafeteria, whatever we did, we were like family. And it made a big difference in everybody going their way, leaving the school. And Dr. Williams was my fondest memory because he didn't take no stuff. He was tough. He was the man. Yeah. He would keep the entire school in. If we misbehaved and he had guests there, he would make the entire school stay after school, sit in the auditorium, and he would be up on the stage letting us know how he felt and how disappointed he was in us. That's the kind of control he had. And we had some big guys like Monk and a whole bunch of big guys, and they would be sitting right in there with us because he was just that tough, right?
I guess it's safe to say that you all had a very close-knit school, and you all came up very close together. Like name one or two more experiences that you think maybe people at different high schools in DC might not have experienced.
Well, game days was always special. Game days was always special. We had a family that was second to none. We had a rivalry, and a lot of times that I didn't go to school, I cut school a lot. But you can best believe on game days I was always there, because if your teachers saw you at a game, they would get on you. They would get on you. The school is such an integral part. It was like our parents were in school, not our biological parents, but those teachers treated us like they were our students. They reprimanded you. They gave you praise when you deserved it. It was a wonderful time in my life. And that's something I'll never forget. And as a matter of fact, that is something that I pass on to my children. And as a Sunday school teacher, I pass that on to those students that I teach in Sunday school. That is something that you can never imagine that. Those days, they're not gone. I don't think that enough of us get involved with these young folks today. I don't think that.
So you all said that once you got to school, you were pretty much locked in school.
But we didn't see it as locked in. We didn't even want to go out. We had fun in the cafeteria. We knew we couldn't go out. And Spingarn, that grass around Spingarn? We could not cut across that grass. Now, they had dug it up now, so we ain't going there. But we could not cut across the grass. Dr. Williams was so proud because Spingarn was built for black people, okay? And he was very proud, and he he just encouraged us in a nice, strong way to don't walk across his grass. Walk across the grass, you get detention. He was tough. And he wasn't tall, but he would get up on those big guys.
But he was a very powerful man. As a fact, all of the teachers there were powerful people, powerful individuals that you respected, even if you happened to see them in a grocery store. You gave them respect then, because a lot of them lived in the communities, and because they lived in the communities, school just went on from school, and just like Sister Claggett said, when you cut school, and I did that a couple of times, that was the longest day ever. You're out there all alone, none of your friends are in there, out there with you, and it was something that we needed to do. But I'm going to share something else with you. And the schools deteriorated greatly when we had folks from the outside coming in, taking our best athletes and our best students out and putting them in their private school to make their private schools better. And today, nobody wants to go to a public school now because of the way that, and I'm going to call a couple of names, Morgan Wooten up at DeMatha, and John Carroll, that came in and took all of the best and the best athletes. The only time, as I said earlier, that I wanted to go to school was to play basketball. To play basketball or maybe play football. You weren't missing those days. But when they took the best stars out of the D.C. public schools, and that's just Spingarn, that's every public school in the Washington metropolitan area. When they took that away, schools started to deteriorate. The public schools decided to deteriorate. And you couldn't, I remember Spingarn was trying to field a football team. They couldn't get enough kids to come out to participate, to join the football team, because the biggest and the best athletes had gone out there to those white schools and the public schools, and they left us, to fend for us in everything that you want to do. Everybody wants to be associated with a winner. And being a basketball player at Spingarn, we were winners. And on that particular time, it was a badge of pride that you wore when you said you went to a school that won the city championship. When you went there and you won, everybody showed up. That's
yeah. And Dr. Williams, he was like a father to us. He would get on the intercom every single morning, welcome us to school, and if he had to reprimand somebody for doing whatever, he would do it over the public address system, tell them he'll see them after school. He was like a father that he didn't, he ain't back off. He just pushed it. And people respected him for it because what he was telling us, he was right. And we were raised that way. So we knew he was right, So he carried how we were raised in our homes. He took it into school, and he would call names over the loudspeaker. And if he can't catch ladies hanging in the bathroom, ducking class, we called them toilet tramps.
He called my name a few times. Yeah, he called my name a few times. And
we respected him.
Yeah, we respected him, And but I remember one time I came to this basketball day. I didn't miss no days on basketball time we were playing. And he came over the loudspeaker and he said, every morning he would say, good morning. In that voice. Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. In that voice. And he would really kind of get. Oh, and he called my name, like I said one time, and I wanted to crawl underneath the floor if I could. But he was a gentleman and a sharp dresser. A fantastic dresser. So our fondest memories, and mine, and of course, so Sister Claddy can agree with this, is that it was like family, and she said it all. It's a family. It's a family affair.
Yeah.
So what are you all's names?
My name is Diana Williams Walker, a class of 1960.
And you are?
My name is Barbara Preston Walker, class of 1960, and we're not related.
So what was your most fond experience in Spingarn, or maybe something that you might not have learned at another school?
I enjoyed my time at Spingarn. I don't know that I can pick out one particular thing. It was an enjoyable experience. I liked Dr. Williams, I liked my teachers, and I learned a lot while I was there.
Well, it was the activities that Spingarn offered. I was in the choir for the whole time I was there, and I really enjoyed that. And of course, the other classes as well.
Would you say that your relationships with your classmates at Spingarn were long-lasting?
Yes, with many of them. I was one of the quiet people, so I've lost track of some of them. But the ones that were my friends then, that are my friends now, when we see each other, we act like we never lost any time.
Either one of you? what would you say the legacy of Spingarn is?
The legacy of Spingarn comes from Dr. Williams, the principal, and he taught us to be studious, to be smart, to act with good manners and good poise in what we do.
What's the importance of putting together material that will help preserve the legacy of Spingarn to you? What does it mean to you?
It means a lot to me because I am what you call an artivist. That's what my profession was after Spingarn, and I know the value of preserving something that is worthwhile.
Is there anything coming up or something that you're looking forward to in regard to Spingarn?
Yes, we are going to assemble this month, as a matter of fact, to celebrate our 60th class reunion for Spingarn.
We're going to plan it.
Yes, we're going to plan it, and hopefully it go off as successful as the others have gone.
Sounds good. Have you all's name?
Victoria Hansberry Silver, better known as Vicky, class of 61.
And your name?
C.C. Matthews,
Also class of 60.
class of 61.
Tell me something about Mr. Francis Smith.
Francis Smith was, when I came on board, he was the president of the Alumni Association, Spingarn Alumni Association. And he was also the founder of the Alumni Association. That went on for a lot of years, and we gave many, many, many types of affairs throughout the Washington, D.C. area. Francis Smith also became Mr. Washingtonian in the class of 54. He was quite well known, and he was an expert in playing basketball in the 50s.
You could just tell me, for other people that may not know, maybe some of his accomplishments in respects to him. You said he was a great basketball player.
Yes. Well, he played in games that went as far as playing along with the known Elgin Baylor. And when Elgin Baylor was going to Los Angeles to be a part of a professional team there, it also became the factor that he was trying to get also in college. Very hard to get into college those days.
I was very well liked, and CC and I were very close, as many others here. And I was most popular art editor of the yearbook for our class of 61. And because of the community and the people that went to Spingarn that came out during that era, we learned to continue to try to help others as they came along, coming out. We are still, class of 61, still remaining friends, but I think I'm the only one that lives in Mount Vernon, Virginia, and I just come across the bridge to all activities.
So obviously it's very important, you all feel it's very important to stay connected. Maybe you can tell me a little bit about what it was like being at Spingarn, what made y'all that way.
It was very important to be at Spingarn because it was like a family atmosphere. It was an uplifting atmosphere. If anyone was down for any reason, the group of everyone there, teachers, workers, classmates, were there to bring you up, to give you encouragement, to give you words of prayer even. Schools aren't like that anymore, but a big family from the classes of Spingarn High School. And it'll always be remembered. Never forget the classes of the 60s of Spingarn High School.
Just let me know if anybody else that you may have feel like is important.
Yeah, I also had the chance to work with Abbott Brown he also became what they call Mr. Washingtonian. It was 3 of them that became Mr. Washingtonian, all at the same affair. Usually it's only one person, but this time it became 3 people. And that was one of them that I said that was Smitty. And the second one was Ivan Brown. And the third one was, so the other one doesn't call our name, it doesn't ring a bell right now, but.
So you would definitely say that people that came from Spingarn High School went on to be great leaders.
That's correct.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Thank you all for your time. Thank you for your input.
All right.
You tell me all names.
Hello, I'm Eunice Jackson. I attended Spingarn in the class of 69. And at school, my name is Eunice Foster.
And your
Hi, I'm Vivian Kirk. I attended Spingarn as well, the class of 69. And I'm Vivian Kirk then, Vivian Kirk now.
all right, so you all can just tell me a couple things that made Spingarn important to you.
Well, Spingarn was really exciting. You know, it was, at that time, it was mostly a predominantly black school. And I was so excited because we had classes like home economics, we had shorthand, we had woodwork, we had a whole lot of classes that would get you to another point in your life. You know, once you graduated school, you know, you had some skills that you could leave the school with. And we had really strong leaders. You know, our principal and everybody, they was like no nonsense because they really cared about our education and trying to get us to the next level. So if you were there, you was given the tools that you needed to, you know, to go on in life. And I left Spingarn. In fact, I started my first job right there. They came to Spingarn, and I went right to the Library of Congress as a government employee. And I'm very grateful for that because it gave me what I have now, a government retirement for the rest of my life. And I attribute that to that being part of Spingarn's curriculum and opportunities that it afforded me.
Start by asking your name and what year you graduated from Spingarn.
My name is Sarah Austin Bennett. I graduated in 1961.
Can you tell me about what made Spingarn different? Or what impacted you the most while you were there?
I liked most was the discipline and the teachers' concern for the students. And the teachers kept me on track because sometimes I would be a little, like most kids, as the only child, I would be laughing and playing, but they would let me stay after school for about a half an hour. The structure and discipline in that school has made my adult life structured. Away from home with parents, allowed the teachers, which we had to respect, to discipline us and keep us in order. That I like. I needed the structure. I still continue to have structure in my life. And if it were not for the classes that I took, and as a postgrad, I took my 2nd year business courses, I can say thank you to Ms. Bishop and Mr. Burke and Ms. Duncan, all the principals. They were our guideposts. And I got up early to take my first year of typing. I ended up typing like 60 words a minute. I have a very good retired life, and I'm enjoying the relaxation of that. So I can tip my hat to Spingarn for giving me the life that they have given me up until now. And I still contribute to the Spingarn Alumni Association, so children and young adults after me can have the same kind of life that I've enjoyed. Is that all?
Just one more. I'll ask you, what type of program would you be interested in seeing in Spingarn Alumni Association get going that might give you like the same type of impact that you had when you were at the school? So maybe you mentioned to me that Spingarn helped your career path. How do you think that the Alumni Association of Spingarn can help that same thing for other kids?
Well, in the years that I have been an adult, I have worked with young people, tutoring them because I personally needed a tutor when I was in school and my mother couldn't afford it. So I give free tutoring and reading so our youngsters can have the fundamentals, because you're going to need to know how to read. And so I have done that and dedicated that for over 20-something odd years through other programs. So I'm willing to do the same thing in programs that when the school opens, I hope it will reopen and be in the community a positive force. Okay.
I'm Betty Jane Parker, and I graduated in 1962.
Eddie White, graduated 1959.
What were some of the most memorable moments in Spingarn, as far as maybe some of the activities, some of the fun things that you all did?
Well, Spingarn was a school that did not allow us to go off campus, so we had to learn how to get along with each other. That meant that we were together for every lunch hour, after school for activities. There were like, I don't know how many, Eddie, how many clubs did Spingarn have?
We had quite a few. It was something for everyone. You could be as involved as you wanted to be on any level. One of the most salient things for me is the fact that my parents, my mother's now 99, my father's deceased, but both of them had teachers that we had at Spingarn were also their teachers. They're very young teachers. I just saw a documentary on Dunbar High School teaching class, and must have been the early 30s, and our principal was a young guy then, so all that is very memorable to me, and they were very serious teachers, and we knew that they loved us. It's very evident.
I think that the glue that held us together was our respect for our principal, Dr. Williams, and I think everybody you interview is going to say the same thing. I don't know what it was about him, but you felt that he cared and loved us like his own children. But there's one thing, I was scared of him. I mean, I tried everything I could to stay out of trouble, and one time he caught me cutting up in class and told me to come to his office after school. I have never been so scared in all my life. I showed up at his office, and you know what he did? He told me, go on home. So obviously I wasn't doing something that was that bad, but I respected him, but I also feared him as well in a good way. But we had so many parties at school, you know, after school. We had a band, we had majorettes, cheerleaders, just about everything.
And compared to today, we were truly naive. We had fun at parties. We didn't know how to spell drugs. We didn't know the meaning of that. We didn't know anybody that had a gun. So it was a different era, but we were also products of a segregated DC, which meant we got the benefit of all the best black teachers because they weren't teaching in the county, they weren't teaching in other schools, they were there for us. We had more PhDs than I can count on our high school faculty. So you don't see that these days. It's a difference. So everything has its benefits as well as its detractions. So segregation worked for me in the sense that I grew up in Deanwood. Deanwood, traditionally real black section of DC. I am now 79 years old. I just moved out of Deanwood 2 years ago. So I lived there till I was 77, the young lady that purchased a house from me that purchased a house from me. My wife is.
You married your husband?
My wife is. Oh yeah, I married another young lady that came out of Spingarn in 1960. She and I have been married for 54 years. And the young lady just purchased our house, and she's a PhD graduate of Howard University, and a PhD out of Howard University wouldn't have thought about Deanwood at one time.
That's
It's
right.
kind of the last refuge
Yeah.
in some senses. So it's been a tremendous experience, and being able to look back on it and be reflective is a different thing.
You know, talking about Deanwood, I was at the age of 13, my family moved to another section of the city called Woodridge, and I was supposed to go to McKinley High School. And when I found that out, I was devastated. I begged my parents to go to the school. I was in junior high school at the time. I begged them to go to the school and plead with the principal to send me on to Spingarn. I could not see myself not going to Spingarn because a lot of my classmates, we were together since elementary school.
And you're still together. I mean, we're here today, right today. I mean, I've got people out there in that picnic that I've been with since junior high school.
Yeah.
And so again, that's
They're like our brothers and sisters, aren't they?
absolutely. It's a kind of an era. Again, I think just the 50s that we grew up in were obviously different than where we are right now. But that's our background. And that didn't keep us from doing anything. My wife and I are both graduates of Howard University and continued to live in Deanwood with other Howard University graduates. So it was a tremendous, being reflective, it was a tremendous experience. And I wouldn't, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
No, no. And look how we still get together.
Right.
I mean, you have a Spingarn function and you're going to have many people to come.
Now, I graduated with her older sister,
Yeah.
and so she's like my baby sister still. You know, we're still friends, you know.
Yeah. You came out in 59, I came out in 62.
Right.
It's obvious that you all came up in a different DC than there is today. Spingarn High School obviously has a lot of prestige. It leaves behind a great legacy. What type of things would you all be interested in seeing come to fruition since the school has been closed? Whether it be a program or just something to give the feel that y'all had when y'all were coming up, or that, like some type of program maybe, because obviously it's a different environment. What would you like to see happen?
I don't know. I've thought about that a lot, and I'm so saddened that the school is no longer, it's still there structurally, but it's not what we went to. I would love to see a documentary on the school, from its beginning, why it started, its history. I think that's one way of preserving it. I don't know of programs that could come out of that. I would have to think about that, but I would love to see a well-done documentary.
I think that's an excellent idea. One thing that I can really compare with Spingarn and black neighborhoods in general of those days were the availability of community centers. You call them community centers now, we call them recreation centers then. And we saw the death of those things, and your parents always knew where you were. You were at the recreation center, and those people there were like extensions of our teachers. And so I think there's so many things that would need to occur to make it palatable again. Of course, we have gentrification there. When I go to Langston, ride past Langston Golf Course, I don't see the same golfers. That's inevitable, but it's just part of the change aspect that we notice. So with Spingarn being,
It's gone.
Spingarn's not coming back.
No.
Spingarn's not coming back, so Betty's point about the documentary might be a way to preserve some of the legacy, which would be a good thing. On a personal level, and Cookie and you, and I know you know my two best friends from high school, we were inseparable, a guy named Johnny Morgan and a guy named Wendell Campbell. If I could do anything, it would be to have those two guys still here. They're no longer here. They went on to do some interesting things. One guy became a professional singer, the other one became a jet pilot. And we're all out, again, this is Deanwood. I can't get away from that. So I miss a lot of people that are no longer here, but I particularly miss those two guys. But I'm thankful for everything else. and that we're still here. And my mom at 99 is still here. And
You know, at Spingarn, the homerooms were segregated, speak of segregated, by gender.
Yeah.
All the boys were in their own homeroom and the girls were in their homerooms too. While I didn't like that, what it did for me was to establish for me very close sister bonds with my friends who were in my homeroom, because we've been together, some of us, since junior high school. And we still get together. And that I think is so special to me, because it's important for boys to have male bonding and for girls to have female bonding. And I think that separation nurtured that. And I may not have been crazy about it then, because I was crazy about boys, but I did, and when I look back on it, I think it was healthy.
Thank you.
I am Gwendolyn Richardson, my maiden name Davis Wells. I was with the class of 1961. I was at Spingarn for all 3 years of my high school time.
I'm Geraldine, and I was Thornhill. My maiden name was Thornhill, and my last name is Mudd. I married Robert Mudd that also went to Spingarn and graduated in 1960. I graduated in 1961.
All right, so coming up in DC in the 50s and 60s, going to high school, what were some of the experiences that you remember, and maybe some of the differences in how things are today?
Well, you happen to get two girls who have been together since we both went to Charles Young, Brown, and Spingarn. They're all up on the hill, as we say, the educational hill. And I had a wonderful childhood growing up over there. We didn't have all this stuff we're having today. Charles Young Elementary School gave us the background of being able to change classes, which you do not have in elementary schools today.
And you remember our principal?
Our principal was
Winston?
Martha Winston, right. Martha H. Winston, yes, very strict.
And that's where it started, our upbringing and respect.
And then we went to Brown Junior High School, where Mr. Stinson was our president, who also demanded respect. And then Spingarn. Spingarn was with Dr. Williams. At that time, Dr. Williams was the only principal for Spingarn. Spingarn was built in, the first opened in 1952. It took them from 1949 to 52 to build Spingarn. It was the first school that was built for black students. All the other schools here in DC were hand-me-downs from the whites. We never had a school built for black students, and Spingarn was the school. It took them 3 years to get it to build it. And their first graduating class was 1954. And speaking of 1954, this documentary was supposed to have been done today with Francis Smith. Francis Smith was with the first graduating class, and he died September the 5th. So he will not be able to give all of his information that his knowledge that he knew.
All right, although some of the people that helped preserve the legacy of Spingarn are no longer here, what are some of your memories of maybe the day-to-day life of being a Spingarn student? Obviously, it's very different from those that went to other schools, whether they were integrated or not, or what have you. Spingarn was different, so just tell me some of those things.
Well, I liked Spingarn because it had the business curriculum, and that's what I went into. And I had wonderful teachers in business, like stenography and typing, and to this day, I contribute my learning in the business field over at Spingarn. And the teachers were wonderful. I never knew a teacher that we weren't disrespectful to them, and they weren't disrespectful to us either. And I just thank God that I was able to come up in the 40s and 50s that I did, because now the kids don't have any respect. We never had any fighting. Well, we had fighting, but no guns, no drugs. And I just thank God that I came up in the era that I did.
How about just tell me about Dr. Williams a little bit? You all told me about how it was coming up through the different grade school, different schools, but once you got to Spingarn,
well, one thing, he used to call us
Bums and
bummerettes. I don't think anybody ever mentioned that. But whenever we got out of line, that's what we were. The boys were bums and the girls were bummerettes.
But before we left out of there, we were ladies and gentlemen.
That's right.
We were bums and bummerettes, and then we became ladies and gentlemen.
And we always had proms. I remember going to my prom, going to other people's prom. We had things in the spring. We had spring dances. Spring dances. We always had something to go to at Spingarn to keep us together. And we are a family. One thing about Spingarn, and I have had friends that I work with that said, I have never known a high school. I've known colleges, but not high schools that are as close as you guys are. And we are a family. We're a close-knit family. And we just love each other.
all right, I'm just going to close out by asking, what is one thing that you both would want everybody to remember about Spingarn? Like people that are outsiders that don't know about the relationships.
Well, one thing someone said that seems like Spingarn people marry Spingarn people. It's a lot of marriages that came out of Spingarn with the husband. I married one. Eddie that was just here, he met one.
I married one.
She married one. So, like I said, it was that close. You know, we stayed together and we married our high school sweethearts. And one thing I want to say about, this is funny, but one day my mother came home, she worked at night and she came home. You don't have to put this in if you don't want to. And I had a cousin that worked, but she was there when my mother came home from work. So I had snuck into my mother's closet to get one of her outfits to wear to school. So I went on to school, I thought I was looking sharp and everything. So next thing I knew, Dr. Williams called my name on the loudspeaker. And I said, what is he calling my name for? I didn't do anything wrong. So I went into his office and lo and behold, there was my mother. Putting me under the bus. But Dr. Williams was really nice about it and everything, and he laughed. He thought it was, you know, hilarious. But he let me just go on back to class and told me not to do it anymore. But he was a caring principal, and he was like a father. He was like a father to all of us. And so was the assistant, the vice principal. So I'm just thankful that I graduated from Spingarn.
If I had to say anything about the schools for today, I would think that I would love to see the curriculums in school that we had, or some of the classes that we had. We used to have home economics, we had workshops for the guys, we had physical education, both for for gym, and then showing us hygiene also, which these kids don't have today. We learned how to take care of ourselves. These kids today don't know squat about none of that. They don't know how to clean, wash, take care of themselves, and then they're babies having babies. And Spingarn taught us a lot about how to become young adults at that time.
And I want Spingarn to stay there, even if it has to be,
dismantle, more or less.
I want the building to stay there. I'm sure they can do other things. It could become a library. I'm sure that people that live around there, I don't know if they have any place to go to socialize, but I just hope that they do not tear down Spingarn, Charles Young, Brown, or Phelps.
Speaking of preserving Spingarn, it would be easy for us to preserve it if we had the funding from the DC government and the private sectors and some of the alumnus that we have. Spingarn could become a multi-purpose center, still bearing the name of Spingarn. Spingarn, it has some. Spingarn can be something that can be a force to reckon with in that area. They have no multi-purpose building around there. They have nothing for the people to go meet, like having their social activities, meeting rooms, or
and we could still use it.
Yeah, and we could use it.
We could still use it.
Alumni meetings and all, because we do still have alumnus meetings.
Well, thank you all for your time. We'll start by asking your name.
John Jeter, class of 1970, baseball and basketball.
Charles Artis, class of 1970, football and baseball.
All right, so we'll start off by talking about the prestigious sports accomplishments and notable things from Spingarn. So tell me a little bit about your all's time there. Maybe other people, your own career, tell me about it.
Well, went to school with a lot of great guys. Just to name a few, you got Steve Higgins, who went to, I think, Southern Idaho Junior College and the University of Texas, El Paso. Was actually drafted by the Memphis Times in the World Basketball Association and the Washington Senators, even though he was in the 11th grade. I was fortunate enough to be drafted by the Baltimore Orioles, but through the advice of one of my cousins who played at Phelps, who was actually in the Yankee organization long before Derek Jeter got there, his name was William Jeter, who advised me that I should go to school because baseball did not protect you from the war in Vietnam. Not that I'm not a patriotic person, but I thought that college was my best way to go for me at that time.
Spingarn was unique when it came to athletics because you had so many, truly good or great athletes there. As he named Steve Higgins, then there was Stanley Washington, himself. It was a bunch of people, John Tyler, it was a bunch of them. And the thing about it was that we pretty much all fed off of each other. The desire to get better came from you practicing day with people that you saw that could truly, play the game. So you had that desire to try to improve or get better. But it was so many athletes at Spingarn at that time.
And it was a family atmosphere, in the context of sports, no matter what sport you played. Because if it was football season, we were right there, supporting the football players, no matter, where the game was, if it was away or whatever, because, it was difficult for kids in the metropolitan area because we didn't have school buses. We had to get there on our own and get back on our own. So, that family atmosphere of trying to make it there to support your brothers and your sisters, it was real prevalent at Spingarn.
And speaking of family, we were real close-knit. I remember when I tried to get him to play football.
For a minute.
but we were really close. It was a family. We hung together. We did everything together.
And the same thing with the coaches. The coaching staff was, tremendous coaching staff with Coach Woods, Coach Hargrove, Roper McNair, especially Mr. Frank Parks. He kept everybody in line. He was a real father figure.
So everybody mentioned that Mr. Williams, principal, was a big impact on their lives. They're almost like a a second father in the school. Would you say that the coaches were similar?
Coaches were similar, but do not mistake, the biggest disciplinarian in Spingarn High School was Dr. Purvis J. Williams. He started every morning with an announcement, and he would always end that announcement about you walking on his grass. Spingarn, back then, Spingarn had a very pretty lawn. I mean, there were no pathways to the lawn at all because of Dr. Williams, but that's where it started at. It started with him, just a little simple things, making sure that you followed rules and regulations.
And all the coaches were basically an extension of Dr. Williams. Whatever he wanted, he would instill in the coaches, and the coaches would relay that to us.
And I don't think everybody truly understands how close he was to the school period, as far as him being involved. And he might not have coached us, but he was always involved. And the biggest thing was that if your grades were not right, we all knew you would not play. And that wasn't really up to the coaches. That was up to Dr. Williams.
And I actually have a picture of myself, artist, Dr. Williams, Donald Smith, Coach Hargrove, and Coach Woods. We all standing around the table holding that big silver trophy. We're the inter-high champions in baseball at that particular time. We were the very best. And to see Dr. Williams behind that trophy right there, we kind of like dedicated and attributed the fact that our success was basically through, him and the coaches.
So obviously you all had notable careers as far as sports goes. But besides that, what would you say was the most memorable thing about Spingarn? Something that other people might not have any knowledge of if you didn't go there, or if you went to a different school in the city?
Well, if you didn't go to Spingarn, you would have no idea what went on in Spingarn because, by the time we got to Spingarn, the boundaries had changed. Previously, Spingarn boundaries were basically on that side of the river near the school. By the time we got to Spingarn, the boundaries were on the other side of the Anacostia River. It was those who lived within the confines of Eastern Avenue and Southern Avenue pretty much went to Spingarn. So it was that neighborhood from those who came from Kelly Miller, Evans, what else was out there? Just those two really, right? Roper. Those were the ones that went to Spingarn when we were there. And that covers a lot of territory and a lot of different neighborhoods. And, when you were growing out there, there was always some type of animosity between neighborhoods, but the one thing all of us had in common is Spingarn High School.
And a lot of people, associate Spingarn as just a school that produced a lot of great athletes. But if you dig a little deep, you'll find out that there was a lot of other great people that actually, migrated and came from Spingarn High School. A lot of lawyers, a few doctors and things of that nature. Stars, movie stars, and everything.
And plenty of educators.
All right, so other people are telling me that you all had the best educators. Seeing as though Spingarn was the first black school, the first, only black school that was made for how do you feel like that impacted you all?
Well, one thing that you learn quickly, and it was pretty much the first semester that you got to Spingarn, that, you had to study at some point. You had to study because, teachers at Spingarn, they held you accountable. And I know my modern European history instructor, Mr. A.P. Williams, if you did not, or you could not answer her, when it came to quiz day or test day, that meant you failed. And as I said, if you fail, that means you wouldn't be part of much of anything until you could bring your grades. Because, they held, your grades were the most important thing while you were there. Everything else was secondary to your education.
Accountability was also obviously a big factor in y'all's time at Spingarn. Do you see that reflected in your life? Or do you see similar things in school these days? Do you feel like you all had an experience that was like one of a kind? Or what do you think?
The accountability reflects in our lives. It's because that's what we learned as we came through, that time. And you understand as you went on to the next level, that accountability was there. In order to succeed, you had to make sure that you, produced. And even when we went into, our careers or into the job world, it was all about performance. You have to perform in order, to succeed. So that was something, like, as you said, that was pretty much instilled in us. I hear people say things have really changed and kids now don't do this. And I always take or beg to differ with them. It depends on what you do with your child. If you raise your child and you instill those things in your child, I don't care how old your child is, your child will adapt and they will move on in life. Now there are certain areas where kids might not have that same support. Then you might have problems. But if your kid is in a family situation as most of us were, and that might be the biggest key, most of us had a family. So it was a little different. Whereas nowadays, things are more single parent families than they were back then.
Start by asking your name.
Sept Miles, 1970.
Dolores Jordan, 1964.
What are some of the positive experiences that you remember coming up in Spingarn?
The most positive things I remember is that we had some of the greatest educators you could ever encounter in high school, from your freshman year to your senior year. And one of the most outstanding teachers that Mr. Artis mentioned was our history teacher, A.P. Williams. She was fair, but she was firm. She made sure that you learned. She made sure that you understood history. And if you didn't like history, by the time you finished your class, you did appreciate history. The teachers were very supportive. They made sure that you did not fail a class. And they were very interested in you passing, getting to the next grade level. And I remember that the instruction was very, very direct and had great quality. There was no goof off time. We were very focused in the classroom. I'll never forget when I read The Tale of Two Cities, and that was in our English class. And it was just an interesting experience to read about the two countries were France and England. So it was the tale of two cities of those countries. I also remember geometry. I did not like math that much, but my geometry teacher, he allowed us to appreciate math and presented it to us in a way that we could learn. Even my Spanish teacher, Miss Samuels, who was very strict, but she made sure we got the class on time, coming from our lunchtime, playing cards in the cafeteria. She knew that we were playing cards, and she said, but you got to get class on time. So it was a very positive atmosphere. You didn't see students in the hallway. Dr. Williams made sure of that he would walk out and make sure there were no children in the hallway. And it was a quiet, peaceful environment where you could really learn. And that's one of my, because I like to learn, and I had a great experience doing that there at Spingarn, from a freshman to a senior.
Just tell me maybe some of your most memorable moments, or something that was fun about Spingarn.
What's fun about Spingarn was the activities that we had. Everybody was cooperative. There weren't any bad kids or anybody, no talk back or anything. Dr. Williams was an excellent principal. We also had Miss Bullock. I remember her. She was she was very strict with the ladies, but it was a good school. I've learned a lot. We had a lot of. I was on the music class. I was a band leader and all when I was there, and it was just a very nice school. We didn't have any. It's nothing like it is today.
say that you didn't go to Spingarn, you went to another school in the city, that you might have wound up a different type of person, or maybe not had the same type of direct impact from your teachers? Everybody always mentions the teachers and Mr. Wayne a lot.
Yeah, we respected our teachers. You know, we didn't have all the hollering and you know, and calling, name calling and all that stuff. You know, we really respected the teachers and our elders. And you can tell the kids were really treated at home very well. But now, it's so much different.
I see that even now when I interact with my alumni, friends, classmates, the great character that was built there at Spingarn. The great character from the administration down to the staff of teachers. Great character was built there. Great leaders were built there. And it was just a positive environment. I want to piggyback on the activities. I want to give a shout out that Spingarn had one of the best drill teams, the best cheerleaders, majorettes, and of course the other sports. We were just all around school, and there was so many people that went to the other schools like Eastern or Anacostia. Why hear so much about Spingarn? You know, y'all don't have incidents there. I said, no, we don't. We just go to school to learn, and we enjoy ourselves there. And we just, we love to see the drill team perform. We would get so excited when it was time to see that. And we would love to see Dolores Callahan lead those majorettes. And we just had a great time at Spingarn. We had a wonderful time there. And we even peacefully sat on the school lawn to get our caps and gowns back. Green and gold, school colors.
And the transportation was excellent too. You know, when the buses were out there to pick up kids, they were on time. You know, and they had a rule to call the kids' name, make sure that nobody was missing off the bus.
It was a very friendly environment. It was like a family away from home. And even the neighborhoods that were blended, I lived in Kenilworth. And we had some of our classmates who lived in Greenwood, across the tracks. And there was no incidents coming in from the neighborhood or anything like that. It was a very peaceful time. Which really, that's how it really should be in a school setting. The mighty greenways. That's right. The mighty greenways. Oh yes, I want to say one more thing. I was the youngest in my senior class graduating. I was the youngest one. That's because I started school when I was 4 at kindergarten, so it just traveled through life. I was the youngest one.
I was going to start by asking your name.
Okay, my name is Yvonne Elizabeth Hudley Wilson. I want to say hello to everyone who's looking at this in honor of our great school, Spingarn Senior High School of Washington, D.C. And I am a proud graduate of the great premier school, Spingarn. My family also attended Spingarn High School. I had a sister whose name was Elsie Hudley Smith, the class of 1960. She's no longer with us. And my other sister, Geraldine Hudley King, who was in the class of 1962. We are all proud of our school, our alma mater, and we all join the ranks of the school because we got such a wonderful background at Spingarn High School. I went on to DC Teachers College. I also went to Benedict College, but I graduated the District of Columbia Teachers College, and my sister Geraldine graduated from the District of Columbia Teachers College, and she also went into the school system. My sister Elsie Smith graduated from Howard University, and she did have the opportunity to teach in the DC public schools for a while. So we all are proud and we embrace the Spingarn High School because that was one of the greatest schools in the nation. And we know because we had traveled around, we've gone to other systems, but Spingarn is always number one. Now while I was at Spingarn, at first I was in the Cadet Corps. That didn't suit me too well because you had to get up early in the morning and march, and it was okay. But the next year, I put the Cadet Corps down, and I joined the Spingarn Majorette. Now that was a highlight of my life. I really loved being a Majorette at Spingarn High School. We were the best marchers, the highest steppers, and the most beautiful girls in the world, of which I was a part of that. Just given that background, I think that we really and truly received our foundation at Spingarn High School. I'm a retired teacher from the DC Public Schools. Geraldine is also a retired teacher from the DC Public Schools, and Elsie went on, was a social worker in the Prince George's County, and she was a supervisor there. So I think Spingarn gave us a full background that we could expand ourselves and go on more. We all went on to further education after college. So I enjoyed it. Everyone should be proud to know someone who went to Spingarn, especially if that person was taught by them or was in their presence.
The type of education that you received at Spingarn is the reason why you went into teaching yourself and your sisters also?
Well, I would say for myself, I always wanted to be a teacher since I was a little girl, and Spingarn enhanced that part of me, and I had nothing to be ashamed of. I had nothing to think I was not qualified for, because I know I got all of that training at Spingarn, at least the basic part, then to go on to the college and graduate part. So
I appreciate you